beginning our Dragon Warrior 2 randomizer run. Kiglis is going to be beginning here in just a moment. We'll give a countdown and be on our way. 3, 2, 1, start!
Hit. I need to add in.
So in the original Dragon Warrior 2 for the NES, the game begins with a 3 to 4 minute cutscene that the randomizer conveniently eliminates for us. It's one of several quality of life improvements that we'll see as we play through the randomizer. You'll notice that the NPCs all around the castle are dogs. That's one of the incentives that we met today. Kiglis is checking his stats and his equipment, making sure he doesn't have any items that have cursed on him. In the opening chest, he picks up a water flying cloth that has high defense. One of the features of Dragon Warrior 2 randomizer that's different from some other randomizers, particularly Dragon Warrior 1, is the weapons and the armor are all randomized as to how much benefit and power they give you. So Erdrick's sword could be completely useless, and a copper sword could be the strongest weapon in the game. Kiglis is bypassing a couple of locations here on the screen. He's looking for the Castle of Cannock. So as the very beginning of the game, we start as a single party member, but in the first of what I consider the 3 chapters of Dragon Warrior 2, Kiglis is going to be picking up 2 additional party members, Prince of Cannock and Princess Moonbrook. There's 2 different storyline triggers that he needs to complete in order to pick up the prince, one of which is speaking to the king of Cannock Castle, which is what we've entered here now. He found Cannock Castle. He's going to go all the way up, speak to the king, and that will trigger 1 step to pick up Prince Cannock. The goal of Dragon Warrior 2 randomizer, once we pick up our party members in the first phase, is from there, the goal is to find 5 crests and the Eye of Malroth. We can then take the 5 crests, trade them in for the Charm of Rubus, and take the Eye and the Charm into Hargon's castle in the end game, and defeat Hargon and restore peace to the world. One of the features you'll see here in this first battle encounter is fast text is turned on. That's one of the quality of life improvements. Another quality of life improvement that I'll mention is the experience requirements to level up are significantly reduced. So we're getting levels faster, text is moving through faster, and Kiglis has been able to walk freely across the world without very many encounters. The encounter rate is 25% of the vanilla game. So the vanilla game typically would take anywhere from 4 to 6 hours to complete in a speedrun setting. Most randomizer seeds can be completed in between an hour and an hour and a half, so really reduces the amount of time of exploring and grinding and encounters and makes it into a feasible playthrough. Kiglis is choosing to run from a handful of encounters here. Unless there's something that's really compelling to take, he's going to hold off on grinding much experience until he gets his other party members. One of the features is, even though you only have 1 party member at the moment, you don't get your experience spread across the 3 party members. So let's say a battle earns you 100 experience. If you're a single party, like he is right now, your 1 member will get 100 experience. If you have 3, they each get 100. It's not spread across, and he gets wiped out by some healers. The enemies that are going to be encountered throughout the game will generally progress in a normal fashion as they do throughout the game, where you'll see weaker enemies like slimes and big slugs early in the game. But a feature of the enemies that is randomized is their spells and abilities. So Kiglis is going to walk back into this cave. This cave is called the Spring of Bravery. The reason he's going into this location is, first of all, to clear 3 chests, and then second is he's going to speak to a wizard in the back of this cave in just a moment, and that is the last step in triggering the story arc in order for him to pick up Prince Cannock. course, the old wizard is turned into a dog, with all NPCs being dogs. Get another encounter. Gonna try to take the ghost mouse. Single encounter, much less dangerous to take than multiple enemies. Gets another level of experience. Ooh, we picked up a life crest. So that's one of the 5 required crests that we're going to need to find in the game. It's beneficial to find one early like that. That's one less item we're going to be searching the vast overworld in order to find. So we made note of that. We found one of the 5 crests already in our first location, 5 minutes into the game. That can be a big benefit. So Kiglis is going down to clear the last chest. We'll see what we get there, and then he's going to move on to pick up Prince Canuck. That's a lot of gold. So about 9,000 gold picked up. That'll afford us to be able to purchase some weapons or armor, perhaps, in one of the shops that we will see. There's one shop on the first continent, and there's a shop on the second continent. Along with the random power that weapons and armor give in the Dragon Warrior 2 randomizer, their power is consistent with how much gold they cost to purchase, as well as how much gold they are to sell. So he's going into this shop and he's purchasing this blank space in the items for the menu for what you can purchase. That blank space is actually one of the 3 keys that can be acquired in the game, only 2 of which are needed in the randomizer. That was the jailer's key. So any door that looks like a couple of bars, like a jailer's door, he can now open with the jailer's key. And this dog, previously an NPC, speaking to is actually Prince Canuck. In the original game, without the dog setting turned on, it actually looks like a prince, and there he is, Prince Muffins! I'm the person who put in the donation for the name Muffins. The reason behind that is the default name for Prince Canuck in the randomizer is Bran. And so one of the players who frequently runs Dragon Warrior 2 Guy refers to Prince Canuck as Bran Muffins. So I thought Muffins was an appropriate name. We're picking up some Shields of Strength. The reason why we're buying Shield of Strength, even though it's a very cheap and very weak defensive item, is because the Shield of Strength can be used in battle as a healing spell. Looks like there's a Staff of Thunder there for a lot of gold, and of course we saw the Water Flying Claws that we started with very expensive because they're giving a lot of defense. Unfortunately, Canuck, Prince Muffins, did not start with a Water Flying Cloth himself. The benefit of Water Flying Cloth is it significantly reduces fire damage. That's going to be important as we encounter enemies that have fire breath throughout the game, and most importantly, for the end boss fight. Okay, this is the second cave on the first continent. We're going to clear several chests in this cave. It's called the Lake Cave. We're looking for a couple of items as we make our way through this battle, try to take down this magician. There's 2 items in particular we're looking for. One of which is the Mirror of Ra. That's going to help us break the curse and add Princess Moonbrook to our party and complete our 3-person party. The other item we're hoping to find here is the Golden Key. Most doors are going to be locked by a golden key, and getting that golden key early really opens up the exploration once we complete our party and move forward. It is possible to not get the golden key in the opening of the game. We would have to find that in a particular town later. So we'll see what we pick up here. Treasures, not useful, can be sold for a little bit of gold. We're going to go down to the second floor of the cave. There's only 2 floors to this cave. The second floor has a few extra rooms. There's a total of 5 chests to check down here. There's our golden key! So we're excited to see that. We're going to leave First Continent with the golden key, the jailer's key, a crest, a water flying cloth. only important item I think we're missing at the moment is the Mirror of Ra. Maybe it'll be in one of these remaining chests. Clothes hiding, and empty. Kiglis does have a Staff of Thunder. That is one of the weapons that can be used in battle. It'll unleash a thunder attack upon enemies. Items that can be used in battle, such as the Staff of Thunder and the Shield of Strength for healing, it does randomize how much benefit or damage those uses will do, and for the healing, whether it affects only one party member or several party members. And in the last chest down here, we do get the Mirror of Ra, so we are prepared now to go to the second continent and break the curse on Princess Moonbrook and complete our 3 party members here. Kiglis checked his spells on Prince Muffin to see if he had the spell of Outside. He did not. He learned another spell, and he still doesn't have Outside. So instead of being able to cast Outside and immediately leaving this cave, he has to make a slow walk out. While we're making this walk out, we do have a opportunity here if we have any announcements or donations right away.
Well, no more donations at the moment, but remind everyone that this is to raise money for the Liam Foundation, whose mission is to encourage, assist, heal, and empower our LGBTQIA+ community through respect, advocacy, and passionate hearts to promote thriving in society. They do a lot of great stuff, including regularly ongoing meetups like D&D and support groups for, non-binary and gender non-conforming adults, and diversity team meets up. This is a great cause, so let's get some donations coming in, folks.
Thank you very much, Classic. We saw some of the spells that Prince Muffins has to use in battles. 2 different sets of spells that are used in the overworld and in battle. He has 2 powerful spells to be used in battle, one of which is Defeat, which can automatically kill any enemy that doesn't have resistance to it no matter what their hit power is. And the other is Firebane, which can unleash a fire attack that affects multiple enemies. Before we move on to the second continent, Kiglis is going to check the treasury here in the starting castle of Maidenhall. There are 5 chests to check in here. Also rearranging some inventory, seeing how powerful some of these weapons are that we've picked up in these caves, and dropping anything that is weak and doesn't have much gold resale value, especially since we picked up some significant gold in that one chest. Inventory management can be a challenge here in Dragon Warrior 2, in the vanilla game as well as the randomizer, because you'll see in the inventory, in the item selection, it shows not only keys and herbs and those types of items, but all of your weapons and armor and shields and helmets also take up space in your inventory. And especially before we get our 3rd party member, it's very challenging to maintain inventory. We're picking up all these items. We want to figure out what's good, what's not good, drop what we don't need. Menuing can take up some significant time, and inventory management becomes important. Okay, let's try to find a good weapon. It looks like the Copper Sword is the weapon of choice here for the hero. We're going to need well over 100 attack power to finish the game. We're off to a decent start with 70, but we're going to possibly need a stronger weapon and certainly some significant strength gains from here. Prince Muffins actually has greater attack power right now than our hero. Our hero, Angel FM. Someone go tell Angel that he's weaker than Canuck right now. So you see we're selling off some of our inventory that could be worth some gold. Some of it not worth very much. 15 gold pieces for the bamboo stick. And for Sword of Erdrick, how'd you like to trade in the incredible Sword of Erdrick from the legendary hero and only get 15 gold for it? Picking up a Wing of the Wyvern, which can be used to return to the last town that was saved at. Kiglis uses that as an opportunity to quickly move from Maidenhall to Cannock Castle, there's one chest in here that he's going to check since we have the golden key. And it's just another bamboo stick. Okay, so now we're going to make our way towards one of these shrines, and this is the correct shrine. This will take us through an underground path over to the second continent. Actually, Kiglis is taking a different path with the golden key. He can already jump and use the transports. We'll talk about these transports. It's unique to Dragon Warrior 2, where there's a transport system that can take you around the world. There's this transport that has 3, and it'll take you, the central one, back to this other transport that has 3. So we checked what we call the fire shrine, with a search spot hidden behind it. And now he's going to go the traditional path here and get to the second continent and pick up Princess Moonbrook. There's also a tower that he's going to clear. Okay, made our way to the second continent. You see that defeat spell in action. Tuning to gain some levels. Running a little bit low on HP, not going to take that fight. A little dangerous with that many enemies. There's a couple of overworld search spots. There's 3 in the game. That's one of them. They will have a randomized item on there. We're looking for the town of Hamlin. It's on this continent somewhere. Of course, with the randomizer, we have a random map. There's the shrine that takes us off of the continent. Where is the town? Perhaps to the northwest? There's the Cloak of Wind tower that we're going to check in a minute. Kiglis is going to bypass the tower and pick up the princess first. That's how I normally route this as well. And we find the town. Of course, in the last corner that we check. So out of this town of all dog NPCs, there's one dog that actually is a dog in the original game. The princess was cursed, and we need to break the curse and turn her from a dog, free her from her furry form, turn her back into Princess Moonbrook, and then she asks to take her on her quest. We really don't have much of a choice. It doesn't give us an option to turn it down. We're happy to have her as a third-party member, and now we are complete. We take a save here to establish this as our return point. We're going to use the golden key to go downstairs under the town of Hamlin. There is a spike encounter here behind this jailer's key door. Aye! Ooh, this is potentially a rough battle, but with the spells that we have, in particular defeat, this is possible to take down. We've got decent strength. Okay, defeat was successful on both sorcerers. This is like a mid-game level spike encounter. This encounter can be anything from the easiest enemies in the game to very, very difficult enemies. This encounter is kind of in the middle. Uses the Thunder Sword, takes them down, gets some decent experience for this point, so I think all of the party members are going to get at least 1 level, possibly 2. The princess should get at least 2 levels. And then once we break from the level up screen here, there is a search spot after defeating that enemies, and we pick up the Eye of Malroth! Wow, this run is going quite well. We already have 1 crest, and we just found the Eye of Malroth. What's extra exciting about finding the Eye of Malroth is that the eye cannot be located like the crests can. Kiglis is going to pick up an echoing flute if we ever find one in one of these shops, and the echoing flute helps us find the crests. It will help us identify when we enter a town or a cave or a tower if there is a crest inside. But the Eye of Malroth doesn't have any indicator like that, so if we don't find the Eye of Malroth early, we're searching all kinds of locations, digging for the Eye. We might be down in Sharlock Castle, we might be checking extra chests in the Lighthouse Tower. But since we found the Eye early, that is really going to save us some time of digging and worrying about where we're going to find the Eye of Malroth. We can just focus on finding the remaining crests, gaining experience, finding our charm trade-in, and the cave to Rone. So far, this is going quite smooth. Checking to see if we get any benefit from the clothes hiding that we picked up. Make sure we're equipped with the best gear, dropping gear that's not helpful to us. That inventory management, even though we have a third-party member, there's still a limited number of inventory spots that are taken up by all these keys, and now we have the Eye of Malroth, which we want, but it's another inventory spot that's occupied. There's 3 chests to get in this tower. This is the second chest. They have 258 gold. We don't really need gold at the moment, although it would be nice to save up and get one of those 12,000 gold water flying cloths. It'd be better to find another one out in a chest somewhere. Making our way to the third and final chest in this tower. It's a medical herb. And we still don't have the spell of outside, so not too bad of a walk out. It's not as bad as walking out of the lake cave because we can actually jump and fall off the side of the tower here. Take another fight. Shouldn't be too bad. Using that Thunder Sword, dealing damage in the 50s, as well as the Spell of Defeat. And we get through that. Pick up some more levels. I saw 10 HP there. We like to see HP and Strength in particular grow as quickly as possible. So now we've done everything that we need to do in what I consider the first third of the game. We've picked up our keys, we have our party members together, and now we can enter the second phase of the game, which is vast open world exploration. So we've went through the shrine off of the second continent. It's now open world. We don't know which way to go. We're going to be looking around for towns and caves. Hopefully we get an echoing flute so we can identify where we might find our remaining crests. I should note, of the 4 remaining crests, we know that one is going to be in the town of Osterfair, and the other is going to be at the top of the Lighthouse Tower. So we know where we will find 2 of them. The other 2, no idea. They could be anywhere. And there's a lot of checks that they could potentially be in. Here's our second of the 3 overworld search spots. A pitiful 106 gold. There's the shrine that we came out of. Okay, looks like we possibly hit the southeast corner. It's a little bit tricky in Dragon Warrior 2 with identifying coastlines and exactly where you are in the world, because Rone, which is the name of the final area that we're going to get to and fight the end boss, is actually in the middle of this big mountain complex that's in the center of the map. So as we're walking here, we see a row of mountains at the very bottom, as well as a row of mountains above us. The mountains above us indicate the Rhone area of the map that we can't access. The mountains at the bottom indicate we are on the south coast of the map. So I think Kiglis has himself oriented pretty well here. He's orientated and knows where he's at. Currently at the bottom of the map. Swamp Cave he's not going to go through. There's Moonbrook's home castle. It was terrorized in the cutscene that we didn't get to see, so there's no checks there. And here we have a shrine that will take us directly to the town of Osterfair. Osterfair is a town where we'll speak to the king and do battle and pick up one of the crests. While we do sneak in here into the shop with the golden key and take these 2 chests, pick up a steel shield, and a lottery ticket. Lottery tickets, you can play the lottery in the game. In the original game, in the beginning, it's helpful to get lottery tickets. You can sell them for a little bit of gold. But in the randomizer, they're really not worth anything. Yeah, I saw that, Milius. That was a good point. In the Osterfair Shrine, normally it's a wizard guy standing by some fire, but with the dog as NPCs flag turned on, both the fire and the wizard guy become dogs. Kiglis is checking the shops, which we don't quite have enough gold for another waterflying cloth at the moment. He's also checking for falcon swords. We'll talk about falcon swords in a moment here. To pick up the crest in Osterfair, he's going to talk to the king, the dog king, and he's going to challenge him to this fight. And again, it's a random encounter. It could be tough enemies, weak enemies. It's a combination of both. Gold orcs, kind of a mid-tier enemy. The big slugs, one of the easiest enemies in the game. So shouldn't have much of a problem taking this down. There we go. He's going to go back and talk to the king and be rewarded with the moon crest. That's the second of our 5 crests. And we're going to exit the castle of Osterfair and see where it takes us on the map. Oh, looked like almost a little island by itself. Watch out for those single tile paths. Oh, it's opening up and there's a shrine here. Looks like possibly the top of the map. That's another shrine that connects to the fire shrine. So that could be a path off of this island if there's nothing else here. There's another shrine. Ah, so this is the Charm of Rubus shrine. We're going to make note of this and come back here eventually when we have all 5 crests. This is the shrine to the town of Baran. That's where we're going to get spit out at the end of the game. So I think we've identified a path home at the end of the game. We can't just return home. We have to actually navigate and walk our way home. This is the Castle of Sharlock, which is the end castle in Dragon Warrior 1. Unfortunately, Kiglis doesn't have an echoing flute yet, so he's unable to determine whether there's a crest inside. That's probably the biggest setback in this run at the moment, is not having an echoing flute. We found now this tower. This tower is called the Lighthouse. This is the largest tower in the game. We have to walk a very long path around and up and then back down. Eventually, we will get to another spike encounter, defeat a set of enemies, and we will pick up the Star's Crest. Meanwhile, there are 4 chests to check along the way. We'll see in a moment whether Kiglis chooses to check those chests or if he's going to bypass them and just go straight to the top. So this is a long tower, and we're probably not going to be doing much besides fighting some enemies and having a couple of chest checks along the way. If there's anything that our host needs to announce, this would be a good time to do it.
Well, no more donations, but let's talk about the Liam Foundation a little more. Let's talk about some of the notable milestones. So work started in 2015 when founder Phyllis Gallis's son Liam came out as transgender. Bought a P flag chapter to Rockford. His parents, families, and friends of lesbians and gays. Liam was the first transgender student to come out at Harlem High School, and sadly he passed away in 2018. We had the first Pride Month in Rockford in 2019, and Phyllis has paid for transgender team's name changes, collect small-scale donations to continue, and, she was designated a nonprofit in 2020, so this is a great cause. So hopefully we can get some more donations and maybe break that first day record before we go to the overnight runs.
Thank you so much, Classic. Yeah, this is a fantastic marathon running the entire weekend, benefiting a wonderful cause. Saw just a magic armor in that first of the 4 chests that it looks like Kiglis is going to clear on the way up. Meanwhile, taking some of these fights, and Prince Bran Muffins there, a little bit low on HP. We do have Overworld Healing spell. So 2 of the chests on the way up are pretty easy to get to. 2 of them are a little bit out of the way. Ooh, good thing we ran from that encounter. That one's a little bit more dangerous. The different enemy sets and the Gremlin and Saber Tiger could have dealt some damage. Take a moment to talk about the run algorithm of Dragon Warrior 2. In both the original vanilla game as well as DW2 Randomizer, the run algorithm, each time you try to run from a fight, you have a 2 out of 3 chance of running. No matter what your agility is, no matter what enemies you're facing, whether it's 1 or 6, or they're slimes, or they're atlases, well, atlases are a little bit of a different story, but any enemy that's not a mini-boss, you have a 2 out of 3 chance of running from. Every time. Every single time. So now we're moving on here, going up the tower. We're going to check the 3rd and 4th chests. If you're just joining us, we have 1 loose crest, we have the Ulsterfair crest, and we found the Eye of Malroth. However, we don't have an Echoing Flute, believe it or not. And we also don't have Falcon Swords or Water Flying Cloth. This is probably a good opportunity to talk about Falcon Swords and Water Flying Cloths. There is a glitch at the end of the game where we can equip gear outside of the ending castle, go inside the ending castle, change our gear, and have benefits of both sets of gear. The way that that works is if we have gear that has like a status effect that we have equipped outside, and then we go inside and equip different gear with different defense or attack power, we have the benefit of the attack power and the defense of that second gear, as well as the status effect of the first gear. The way that we use that to our advantage in this run is Falcon Swords allow us to get 2 attacks in a turn. So if we use the Falcon Swords combined with a very powerful weapon, we can get 2 very powerful attacks, which benefits us in the end boss fight. That's an ugly fight at this point. Thankfully, the run algorithm is being favorable to Kiglis on the fights that he wants to run from on the way up here in the lighthouse. Oh, don't step off the edge! The game can be cruel. If you accidentally step off the side of the tower there, you fall down, fall out, and you have to start all the way over at the bottom. Another encounter that we're not interested in. The encounters that have different enemy sets become more time consuming because of the spells like Defeat only affects 1 type of enemy. So we saw that there was 3 different enemy types there. Take a little bit more time. Okay, so we have this dog in this case. Originally it's another wizard person, and he says, "Come here, I'll show you where the crest..." Oh, there he is. Glitches out back to the original wizard character, apparently after you leave the first level of the tower. But at first when you see him up there, he looks like this monster character. And then the monster goes away and turns into this wizard fellow, who looks like he's happily taking you to the crest. Well, that's very friendly of him. Open now the treasure chest. Okay, this must be the crest. It was empty! It's a trap! Oh no! We're surrounded by 2 sorcerers and 3 evil eyes! This is the required spike encounter that we're going to need to defeat to get the Stars Crest. Again, kind of a mid-tier enemy set there. With the spells that we have, no problem to take down. Gonna get some more levels. We're up to level 11 for the hero. We pick up our Stars Crest. 3 out of 5. So now the big question is, will Kiglis decide to dive, such as the Charlotte Castle in particular that we saw? Ooh, that's the Cave to Rome. That's going to take us to the ending castle in the end game. We're going to make note of where that is. Is Kiglis going to be going ahead and diving something like Charlock, or is he going to be looking for a town to pick up an echoing flute to hopefully save time? Looks like he's taking around and looking for a town to buy an echoing flute or get some other easier locations to clear. I agree with that choice. It's really going to be helpful to use the flute to know which locations we can entirely ignore, since we already have an Eye of Malroth. So this is the town of Thun. Another weapon shop to check. No falcon swords, okay. There is an item shop up here, as well as an inn for healing. So we'll get our HP and MP back after dealing with the lighthouse. And there's no echoing flute here either. Wow. Well, there's our third overworld search spot. Another dragon killer.
Is now a good time to talk about a donation?
Yes, absolutely.
All right, so we have $150 from Doug the Redbeard. He didn't leave any comment, but that gives us a new one-day record. We are at $3,198.76. So GG's to everyone out there.
Hang on, my soundboard isn't working. Hang on, I got the thing for it. Where is it? Here it is. Okay, as you were.
Very good. All right, so we have 2 item shops here to check, and we finally get an echoing flute. All right, so that's going to help identify which locations we come across that have a remaining crest.
Sorry, I'm going to interrupt one more time since I was apparently drowning everything out. Jay, do I sound better? I'm going to assume so, because he's no longer screaming at me. Still loud. Okay, pulling that back. I'm blaming you. It's okay. Alright, I'm out again. Sorry.
Alright, so now Kiglis can use the echoing flute, and what that's going to do is he's going to play the echoing flute, and it plays that song, the dun 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 dun, and if that's all it plays and doesn't echo, that tells us that there's no crest. If, however, it echoes back, that tells us that there is at least one crest in that location. And I think we have an echo, ladies and gentlemen. All right, so we have at least one crest here in Charlock Castle. If you're familiar with Dragon Warrior 1, the layout of Charlock Castle here in Dragon Warrior 2 is a little bit different. Some of the rooms you'll recognize will have the U room. We have the second floor zigzag room right here. There is a judge's table, Erdrick's sword spot from Dragon Warrior 1. You see that single chest in there. And there is also a treasury of chests down in the bottom. So there's a total of 6 chests to clear. Or is there 5 if there's only 4 in the basement? One of them is definitely a crest. Okay, making our way to the judge's table location. Armor of Gaia. Useless armor, not the crest that we came here for. So with that out of the way, we're going to head down to the basement of Charlock and clear the chests down there, one of which we know is a crest. We'll have to see then how this continues to progress. We haven't seen Falcon Swords yet. We have decent weapons for Angel FM, our hero, but nothing overwhelming. We're going to hope that as the levels progress, Angel picks up some more strength in order to increase our hit power. The go level stats here in Dragon Warrior 2 Randomizer is somewhat fluid. You need enough strength to deal damage. Ooh, Metal Babbles and Defeat. Metal Babbles give approximately 5,000 experience apiece. Defeat spell takes them both down. Incredible. So grab a cup of coffee. We're gonna watch some level up text fly by for a minute or so. Metal Babbles are by far the most valuable enemy in the game for experience. You saw that took down 2 Metal Babbles. It overflows the experience. It only goes 4 characters long, or 4 digits. So we just picked up 9,999 experience. And the game goes through every level individually. Hero's already up to level 17, Bran Muffin's up to 16. One of the other requirements of Go stats is you want enough hit points to survive some attacks from the end bosses, so ideally getting the hero well over 100 and the other 2 characters at least around 100. The more the merrier. You definitely want as much of a cushion. And we don't know step guard, so we're going to take some damage over the barrier tiles. We also will need the princess to learn the spell of defense to reduce the defense of the ending boss. So we're going to see which one of these chests is our crest. Of course it's the last chest, right? Okay, so water crest acquired. By my count, there's one more crest to find. A little bit of inventory rearranging, get rid of some of this excess gear that we don't want. Throwing away the armor of Erdrick, how often do you see that? So Gigless is taking an intentional death here across the barrier tiles because he doesn't have the outside spell. So that was an intentional death, cold as a cod. That's I think technically our second party wipe of the game, when we got wiped out in the Spring of Bravery in the very beginning. So if I'm not mistaken, our cod counter is at 2. That took us back to the last save location. Whenever you take a death, or you use the spell of Return or Wings of the Wyvern in Dragon Warrior 2, it will take you back to the last place that you saved. In later Dragon Warrior games, it will bring up a menu and allow you to return to a specific town. In Dragon Warrior 1, you can only return back to your starting castle, so Dragon Warrior 2 is kind of a hybrid of those 2 features. You can't choose which town you return to, but it'll take you back to the last one that you saved, so there will be times where you set up a specific save point. We found the Moon Fragment Tower. We're going to toot the flute. There's no echo. There's nothing else that we're interested in there. We're on our way. We could dive the tower and the other places where there's not an echo in the hopes of finding a Falcon Sword. Still optimistic we might find one in a shop. Not here in the town of Leonport. The town of Leonport is where we will pick up a boat. We have to defeat this spike encounter. Should be no problem here. Almost a full spell list for the princess. I saw that she has the spell of defense, so that's very good. We're gonna talk to this dog's grandfather dog. And grant us his swiftest ship, which is also a dog! Doggy paddling through the water. Oh, it did turn into a ship. Alright. So now we have a ship. Gigless immediately gets out of the ship. It's usually not beneficial to be sailing around the world. There are a few seeds where a required location will be an island all by itself that's not accessible from one of the transport portals where you do need the ship. that could still come into play here, I suppose. We haven't cleared all of the locations, but we've seen the Charm Shrine, we've seen the Cave to Roan. Seems like we picked up the ship just to have it, just in case, and it was a free spike encounter when we were there, but very unlikely to be sailing around the world. Okay, we have another town here, the town of Baran. Looks like Kiglis is going to set this up as a save point. If you're familiar with the original Dragon Warrior 2 game, there are plenty of NPCs in this town. It's quite awful. So what Game Boy F9 did when he developed the randomizer, another quality of life improvement, he took those 4 NPCs that are all crowded around an area that are constantly blocking you, and he locked them in the jail in the back of the town of Baran. Much appreciated. The Heal More spell, we saw use of Heal More when there's a healing spell, as well as the Shield of Strength in DW2 Randomizer. It randomizes whether that healing affects one direct party member, or if it heals all of your party members. We really like to see Heal More or Heal All as an all-party AoE effect healing. Very helpful not only at points here in the middle of battle, but definitely in our end bosses. So let's see, what location have we not seen yet? We haven't seen the Sea Cave. And we haven't seen the town of Zahan. So we're really narrowing down the remaining locations where our last crest could be. 3 gold bat boons. This can be a tricky fight. In the vanilla game, these guys are pretty terrible. They can use the spell of Sacrifice and just wipe out your entire party in one shot. They do have resistance to some of our spells. Even a couple of shots of Explodant isn't taking it down, so this is where Kiglis' skills of navigating battles like this will be beneficial. Keeping the attack on, but healing and making sure we don't take a party wipe. 1 gold bat boon down. Ugh. They have Explodant as well. And I believe only one of our characters has Water Flying Cloth to reduce that damage. Okay, Explodant takes the 2nd down. We dealt damage to the 3rd, not quite brought him down yet. There we go. Enough experience for some more levels. Hero up to level 18. We could be close to go mode by the time we find this last crest. And then we have to trade it in for the Charm of Rubus, and then we have to get through the Cave to Roam. So, very likely to just naturally pick up another level or 2 along the way. And here's the location we were looking for, the Sea Cave. We have an echo! Okay, so we're gonna heal up to full, be as safe as possible as we can coming through here. These red lava tiles, I think of it as lava. I don't know exactly what it's supposed to be. Like an underground lava flow from this sea cave. The first chest, of course, is not our crest, and we still haven't learned the spell of Outside. Sometimes that's a level 1 spell. Not in this seed. So we have to walk the long way around, take more damage, heal back up to full, because we can see some pretty rough enemies in here sometimes. There's one more chest to check here on the first floor. And it's the Sun Crest. We're all set. Absolutely, Angel. If we had his mic audio in our ears, that is exactly what we would hear. Especially with Princess Moonbrook having a near full spell list, just not overworld spells. Battle spells were great. We've got defense, we've got explode it, we're ready to rock and roll. But no outside. So the next steps here, once we get out of this fight, I believe Kiglis is going to be making his way back to the Charm of Rubus shrine. Since we have the 5 crests, we can now go down to the basement of the Charm of Rubus shrine, get the charm, and with the charm and the Eye of Malroth, make our way into the 3rd phase of the game, the end game, where we go into Rhone and into Hargon's castle. Taking the opportunity to stop at a town and stay at the inn. Use a lot of healing magic in that sea cave. And on some of those battles here, so replenished up to full. The question is, he could bypass the charm right now and could go through the cave to Rhone. Ah, okay, he's gonna route here through the town of Osterfair, exit the town, and out that way is where we saw the charm. So good work by Kiglis keeping his map straight. And it was just over these 3 Bridges Road. That's one of our transport... Is that one of our transport shrines, or is that the... Yeah, okay, that's the door transport shrine. There's the charm shrine. So we're going to walk down all of these steps, make sure we have an available spot in our inventory. Threw away the echoing flute that he waited so long to purchase. But since we have the 5 crests now, we don't need the echoing flute anymore. It just takes up a spot in the inventory. Shuffling some items around, we're going to walk down these steps. I like the visual here. This always intrigued me. Receive now my charm and my spell of protection. Now we make our way back up. Leave the way we came. Close the door on the way out. And head to the cave to Rhone. We're approaching the end game here. We're gonna go through the cave to Rhone, and that'll take us to our ending phase of the game. There's a shrine on the final area to save at, and that'll be our last save point, and we'll attack the final castle. There's a couple of mini-bosses before we get to the end boss. We'll talk about that in a minute once we get through the Cave to Rhone. Cave to Rhone is never a guarantee. There could be some nasty enemies here. Ooh, these giants aren't the friendliest. Can't run, so let's just defeat and explode at them. There we go. Might not be bad taking a couple of fights like that on the way down, get a little bit more experience, maybe another level or 2, depending on exactly where our strength is at. Especially without Falcon Swords. We're not going to be able to use that Falcon Sword glitch and get double attacks. Now we're definitely seeing the benefit of the 25% encounter rate from the vanilla game. If you've played Dragon Warrior 2, you know that walking through this cave, it feels like every other step you're getting ambushed by nasty encounters like that. Attack bots, and Cyclops, and there's green dragons in here. You can see like 4 green dragons at a time. We still get the nasty encounters, but they're at a 25% reduced rate. Come on, Angel, chop down this Cyclops. There we go. Not much more HP, but 12 more MP for Prince Muffins. Ooh, 4 Blizzards. Blizzards are usually a pretty good bang for your buck as far as experience for what type of enemies they are, unless they have some nasty abilities that they unleash on us, but not in this case, not that we saw. Just a quick 2,000 experience. Now, you'll see here, Kiglis is walking a very particular path. He's walking a little bit slow, a little bit jagged, he's not hugging the walls. The reason for that is because this floor in the cave, and there's a couple of floors like this is the worst one. There's a lot of trap doors where if you take the wrong step, you'll fall down into a basement room that has a higher encounter rate, and you have to walk to a corner to climb the steps and go up and try again. So Kiglis is going to be very careful, tiptoe his way around the trapdoors, does it successfully, and we proceed on. That's the worst room with the trapdoors here. Fortunately, we know exactly which direction to go because this cave also becomes a maze where if you go the wrong way, it will become like a loop and loop you back around to the same location. This is a very challenging part of the original game. Especially when you're, playing it for the first time and you don't have online guides and walkthroughs and you're just trying to play this and figure out what you're supposed to do, and you end up falling down trapdoors and going through rooms that turn around back onto themselves. Fortunately, Kiglis knows exactly where to step and which way to go. And we pop out here into the snowy land in the top of the mountains of Rhone. We're going to find the shrine here on this Rhone continent. There's only 3 locations here. The cave that we spit out of, a shrine to save at, and then Hargon's castle, which is the castle that we just walked past. That's going to be where we go inside and fight the end boss and finish the game. First, we're going to go to this shrine, conveniently located here on the top of this mountain next to this evil wizard's castle. We get to save, and also it acts like an inn where we restore our HP and MP. It will also automatically revive any deceased party members. Looking at you, Bran Muffins. Absolutely true, Cerno. Cerno the Ice Fairy in chat. You haven't lived until you've died to an ambush by 4 green dragons in the first round. I feel that, my friend. So, Kiglis is taking a look at weapons. It doesn't look like he's going to utilize anything to glitch with the water flying cloth. We're just going to use the Charm of Rubus because, as you saw, we walked into the castle, and it looked like our starting castle, Maidenhall, because, again, it's a curse that we needed the charm to break. This is one spike encounter where we talk to those flames. We're looking for something to grind a little bit more experience. This enemy set isn't quite going to do it for us. 586 experience isn't a lot at this point in the game. Do we still not have step guard? Wow. So we don't have outside and we don't have step guard. Normally, step guard is a spell that either Prince Muffins or Princess Just Quinn will learn relatively early in the seed and be able to prevent us from taking damage on all these and the barrier tiles. However, without step guard, we get to take damage every step of the way and use up our magic to heal back up just to walk through. Yeah, learn. Hey, this team has learned defeat, they learned defense. I think they've exhausted all of their learning. So Kiglis walked to the back of that little platform area, or kind of a throne area, comparable to Dragon Warrior 1, used the Eye of Malroth to find the secret passage to go up into Hargon's castle. There is a chance of enemy encounters on these first couple of floors. but we'll reach a point where there's not going to be any random encounters. And this is where we need to start talking about the mini-bosses. In a moment, you're going to see the first of 3 mini-boss encounters. The way that the mini-bosses work, which are Atlas, Bezuzu, and Zarlox, is if we encounter that enemy all by itself, or it's that enemy at the far right of the encounters, we cannot run from it, we have to fight it. In this case, because there's a gremlin on the far right end, we could run from it if we wanted to. However, Kiglis is going to take this fight to grind more experience. If we've done a status check recently, I wasn't paying close enough attention, but without the Falcon Sword, it's important to have a lot of attack power, since we're not going to get the benefit of double attacks. And of course, it's a good idea to get as much hit points as possible as a buffer here. We're going to be taking a lot of damage in the ending fights. Here's the second mini-boss encounter, Bezuzu, joined with some berserkers. They have some high HP. Exploded didn't even take them down. Bezuzu is susceptible to sleep. He does fall asleep. Bezuzu is going to be the last meaningful enemy that is susceptible to the sleep spell. Using the Staff of Thunder, and defeat takes him down. 14 power. That's a big help. still no step guard, and still no outside. Oh, gotta love it. Okay, here's an example of a mini-boss fight from which we cannot run. Because it's only a Zarlox by itself, even if we didn't want to fight this for experience, we would be forced to take this encounter and defeat this enemy. Otherwise, every attempt of running from this battle, it would be a failed run, and we would just get beat up by the big ol' Zarlox. Got some more levels here. Prince Muffins didn't learn Step Guard. So we're going to be taking damage across these barrier tiles. We're at the top of the castle. Hargon, the evil sorcerer, is right up here. Kiglis is healing up. Gonna take a shot at this. Very low on MP. Stranger things have happened, though. Hargon does have a little bit of susceptibility to Stop Spell. Not even sure if we have that, but Kiglis is foregoing that. Takes down the extra enemies there, and we're just left with Hargon. Dealing 45 damage. Ooh, that exploded was perfect. Okay, now we're gonna cast Stop Spell. Because Hargon does have some spells as well as healing, so he can heal. That's the big benefit of using Stop Spell on him. Of course, it has to land. Wake up, guys. Wake up. He keeps blowing that sleep breath. We're almost out of magic. We do take down Hargon. Oh, but there's another. Send the Malroth. So the entire game talks about Hargon and Hargon's castle, and Hargon is like the end boss. Well, when you get to this point and you defeat Hargon, it's not the end of the game, because you have Malroth as the end boss to fight. Very low on MP. We'll see what happens. This would be pretty wild if we can take down Malroth without the Falcon Sword, and coming in this with very low magic. Kigless is going to give it a shot, though. We do land a defense. We need at least 3 defenses to land. 4 it would be ideal. Looked like another one landed. Okay, that one didn't have any effect, and Malroth healed himself, which was fine at that point. That means that we're not taking any damage. Balancing healing and attacking. Angel wakes up. Thank you for not sleeping through this entire battle. Appreciate it. Interesting situation, but he's got a shot. He's dealing some decent damage, even though it's only 1 attack. 1 HP for Bran Muffins, and we deal enough damage to take down Malroth. We're not quite at a dot done yet, because, again, unlike other games where you can just return home or the ending credits begin when you defeat the end boss, we do actually have to find our way back home. So even though there's no enemies, alright, we use the spell of return, get back to the shrine, and then there's this transport in the shrine that takes us back to the Baran exit, pops out here. Does Kigless remember the way back? Is this a shrine that's going to take us home? Yes, it is. Very good. Yeah, still no outside. And I think still no step guard either. So it's hard to identify these shrines when the wizard or the fire is turned into a dog. So Kigless got tricked there. He was in Fire Shrine instead of the Wizard Shrine. He pops out here, goes through this transport, which takes you right back into Maidenhall Castle. We're going to have time here in just a moment. We're going to get a brief batch of text. And time. Thanks everyone for the GGs. 1 hour, 7 minutes, 15 seconds of this run of Dragon Warrior 2 Randomizer. 3 cheers for the new Monarch of Maidenhall. Hip hip hooray!
GG. So coming up, we have Resident Evil 2, which will be followed by Final Fantasy Mystic Quest and then Skyrim. We here in the room do need to be picking up for the night. So, but this Final Fantasy Randomizer 2025 Summer Marathon is going to continue overnight. So let's get some more donations in. I mean, the more the merrier. There's no bad time of the day or night to donate.